All right, I'm gonna let everyone in. We'll get rolling. As I can share my screen. Okay, all right, whenever you're ready, David.
All right. Okay. Okay, it is now 6:01 p.m. and I am calling to order this meeting of the Fort Point Channel Landmark District Commission for Thursday, October 9, 2025. The commissioners present are Commissioner Umfanor, Rhodey, and myself, Baraducci. So today the commission will be holding a public hearing to review applications in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30, 2027. We're conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Fort Point Channel Landmark District Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All further conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has adjourned. Let's see. And at this point, we ask if there are any members of the media or elected officials on the call to identify yourselves by raising your hand in the Zoom platform and stating your name, title, and affiliation.
Not seeing any.
None, nothing. Okay. And then finally, members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. And I will repeat these instructions when we open up the public hearing at the end of each presentation. All right, so what are we doing here? So the agenda will basically, we're gonna go through the design review applications we will hear each one and then we'll have administrative reviews. I'll read those into the record and vote on those. And then we'll have ratification of the August 14 public hearing minutes. And then we'll have finally staff comments or staff updates, I should say, and then adjournment. All right, so the first application is number 26.0231, and it's 5 NECCO Street, and the work is it's regarding paint company logo at corners of building, and then we'll see additional items under the administrative review. So, okay, so the applicant, if you are present, you can introduce yourself and.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. And thank you, Commission. We appreciate you taking the time this evening. It's always a pleasure to present in front of this group. My name is Adam Kahn, and I work for Alexandria Real Estate, the owner and managers of 5 NECCO Street. We're here today to request approval for proposed exterior signage for Havas, which is our tenant located at 5 NECCO Street. Havas couldn't be more proud to call the historic Fort Point neighborhood home to their employees. And so the proposed signage is really reflective of those feelings. The design intent really creates a timeless integrated look that makes it feel as though they've always been there, which is kind of consistent with the building's historic branding. So this first slide here you'll see just shows the locations of the signage. If we could go to the next slide. This is a mock-up. The signage was designed in collaboration with Gensler, who has done work at both 5 NECCO Street and with the tenant. And again, it reflects kind of the brand identity of both Havas and 5 NECCO Street. If we can go to the next slide. As you'll see, it consists of 3 vertical signs located on the northeast corners, northwest corner, and southwest corners of the facade. The locations are notated on the screen here. I believe the next slide also has just one lasting image there. Perfect. Thank you so much. So really, again, we were inspired by the historical branding when Havas was really working with both the landlord and ourselves on this exterior signage. You can kind of see in that picture on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see kind of that old Necco candy logo painted on the side and kind of that faded look. And it was really important for Havas to try to replicate that. So they're not only connecting with their own brand, but with the neighborhood as a whole. Our installers recommended kind of two different options for the application of the signage. In both cases, which is most important to us as the landlord, is that we're maintaining the ability to return the historic brick to its existing condition in the event that it needs to be removed. So option one is a vinyl application that can really just be removed with heat and manual labor. Option two is kind of a painted application using a stenciling system. And we actually had a mock-up created by the vendor that kind of shows what Havas and the landlord would like to see as far as an execution on the brick if we were to go with the painted option. This could also be removed with some brick-friendly solvent and would maintain the integrity of that facade. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Rachel, I'm going to ask if you could read what staff comments would have been, or what your staff comments are at this point before we discuss it among ourselves, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So staff recommends approval with the following provisos. A plan to remove the proposed paint signage without harming the existing masonry is submitted to staff for final review. Per the standards and criteria, new signs shall be affixed to buildings so as to avoid damage to historic fabric. And Adam actually just mentioned the brick safe solvent that they could use, so I'd want more information on that. And then this is the last one, they actually updated their presentation since I wrote the staff comment, but I asked for a detail of the proposed signage, identifying the proposed paint color and showing a faded and broken in painted text to be submitted to me for final review. Arguably, the image on the right showing the faded text could qualify as that, but you guys are always welcome to request a more technical drawing.
Okay. Can you go back and show me, or so we could see where you're proposing all of these signs in relationship to one another? Particularly, I mean, we're very familiar with this building. This was the former GE building. So I see that where the GE sign was at the very top corner of the facade that faces the channel. So you're proposing, is that sign going to be some kind of illuminated lettering and letters that are mounted to the brick, or is this going to be painted on as well? The one.
Yeah, so there's no illumination to this proposed exterior signage. The options for application would either be a vinyl or paint. Both would be reflective of the faded design.
Okay, so that goes for all of the locations for the signage that you're proposing here. They
Yes,
would
sir.
all be adhering to the brick itself with some kind of stenciling. I guess when I look at this, I feel like the vertical signage that you're showing here on the two corners, aside from what you're showing at the top of the building, that I think makes perfect sense for that to be large and in full view. The other signs seem so minuscule and small and sort of insignificant. I just wonder what that's about. Why you're choosing something, I don't know, seemingly so small and insignificant looking, versus trying to just do like the larger sign at the top of the building, which is great, and then maybe another location if you wanted to have another side. But you've got one, two, three, four different locations here, I guess is what we're seeing in total.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and just to clarify, David, I appreciate that. The left image with the Havas Arnold, that was a previously approved and installed sign. So we're only proposing
okay.
these three that are circled in red. It's really to be more, one, respectful of the neighborhood, but also two, it's very pedestrian friendly, so that can be seen by the many people that, utilize the Harbor Walk or utilize the facilities of public accommodation plaza that splits between 5 and 15 Necco Street.
So you're doing these signs where you're showing them versus, say, anything over the main entry to the building, or I guess is that, if you could go just explain that a little bit, what your logic there.
The logic for the locations.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just the areas where we have that foot traffic. That's kind of really a popular spot, right? I think we have a lot of commuters that go from that Harbor Walk that go in between the buildings, or folks that are traveling up the Harbor Walk, and that way it kind of gives Havas that visibility. Again,
Mhm.
I think the sizing is just out of respect, and it's more to be pedestrian friendly. And this is kind of in addition, these three signs are really in addition to what we envision for the main entrance, which we have under administrative review on the docket this evening.
Okay, okay. Oh, all right. That was what that clause was about. So you're occupying both of the historic buildings here. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, five Necco Street. I know formerly it was 5 and 6 Necco Street.
Yeah, okay. All right, and I guess my other concern was, in terms of, you sort of gave us a choice of what method of adhering you want for these letters, and I guess I don't, I don't know, what's better, a better system, and I know we've had approval and I'm trying to think of where that was, where we
On
approved.
Thompson Place,
Yes,
actually,
thank you,
we
Thompson
approved
Place.
the
There's a,
vinyl.
yeah, there's a lot of signage that's adhering to the brick. I wonder, I mean, I don't know. Rachel, did you have to look at that and approve what method they were proposing for the adhering of that signage?
Yeah, we ended up doing like some mock-ups. That was mainly because there was so much of that signage
Yeah.
on the street. I would argue that honestly, the vinyl doesn't look as faded as it should on Thompson Place. Like I think it's too vivid. There's like
Mm.
two really big signs as well. The applicant or the former applicant has told me that it will fade and become dishevelly looking as they would like to see it, of course,
Oh,
too,
yeah.
over time. But right now it's still pretty like stark and clean.
All right. So in terms of the which would be the least damaging or leaving of a stain of any kind, that hasn't been determined in terms of deciding on which detail here, or which specification to choose for the lettering.
Sure. I mean, so with the vinyl application, it's pretty easy to remove that. And the paint can be removed as well.
Yeah.
I would say there is something kind of um, poetic, like they're looking to function as a faded sign, like
Hmm.
alluding to the ghost sign. And then one day, maybe they would leave that building, but a fade of their sign could still remain. Like, I think
Mm.
that there's something kind of nice about this very like well thought out.
It's sort of more, it's somehow more authentic to kind
Yeah.
of the chronology of these structures
Mhm.
to my mind is,
Yeah, it's like adding another layer of history to
yeah,
the
I think,
the
yeah,
The
and
building.
vinyl
slapping,
is
I don't know,
The vinyl
slapping
was
sort of
well
a vinyl thing over it just seems kind of too like modern, trying to look old, as
Yeah.
opposed to just paint it. And if you know, all things being equal in terms of removal, the paint just seems more authentic.
Yeah, I feel that way. I think the vinyl on Thompson Place is nicely designed and well intentioned, but I think you're right. There's a look of a little bit of a shrink wrap kind of look to it,
Right.
a little bit
Yeah.
too, and I think the way it will decay over time is not the way that you can even see from the sample that's been prepared, that you're seeing the texture, you're seeing the variation of the brick color underneath, you're seeing the interplay of light and shadow as it marbles itself across the surface. There's benefit to that, particularly at scale.
Mhm.
So
Mm. So of this this sampling that we're looking at in this slide, uh, this is the look that you're going for, correct? I mean, this is the sort of faded
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
two that you show here, are they what's the difference between the two?
There's no real
Oh,
difference.
all right.
Yeah.
And this
Um,
method is what again? To describe that method that is shown here.
so this would be kind of like a stencil-like
Okay.
system, where they would use paint and kind of a stencil to create accurate, clear lettering, but also again utilizing the stencil to create that faded look through the application process. It
And
was really
it would actually be a paint.
yes, correct,
so to be clear, Adam, this is option 2.
correct,
If we were to approve this with a proviso and say option 2, this is substantively similar to what we would get in the result, other than the out. I
Ex
understand you're working at a different
exactly,
scale here. Yeah,
Versus
correct.
the option one, which is the more of what they did on Thompson Place.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm just, I mean, I know we've had issues with approving of, I mean, yes, we all love the ghosted sort of historic signage that's from the past, and that was all done with paints and that sort of thing. Um, I just now we would be basically approving of going back to using paint on the buildings. Um,
Mm.
and then I mean, I just don't know what the precedent this is setting up. We've kind of took us a while to allow a sort of an adhering of a logo or a business name on the brick itself. And it was always presented to us that it would be something that would be easily removable and not damaging to the brick and et cetera. And it would all be done with something other than actual paint. Now we're being asked to actually approve of a paint.
Mm.
And I don't know that we want to go that step because that's going to open up a whole can of worms, I think. And these buildings are going to want, there's going to be owners that are going to want to start doing this more and more. And it's going to take a hell of a long time for the ghosted image of an older tenant to sort of reveal itself and become something that's kind of landmarkable in terms of its look. So I just think we need to think about that piece of it a little bit. So asking that, so having asked about your justification on the location of the signage, I mean, I can understand what you're doing. You are occupying the entire building, so it's not necessary to just concentrate the signage over the front entry. It will be, and I think it's small enough to not be in your face either. Um,
Mm.
so I don't know. I just wonder what the other commissioners feel though about allowing for an actual paint.
Can we just talk about composition on one of the signs, irrespective of its material, and then I'll speak to the material composition. This is on location 3. I think you're trying to register this with the horizontal mullion of the effective second floor windows. Adam, is that right? That horizontal line between Havas and Arnold, you're trying to register that with the existing
Yep,
mullion line
exactly.
that's across the window. I think the unintended bias of that is that it's ending up being sort of too far rectified. It's squeezed really tight to that cornice at the top. I think there's probably just an inch or two, maybe even one brick at the very top of Arnold.
Mhm.
How tight that is hugging the top of
Oh,
that
yeah. It's
right?
almost touching it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm just
Yeah.
wondering whether the thickness of that line, I appreciate what you're trying to do here with the alignment of the mullions. You know, it's contextual and it's sensitive to the existing context, but the sign kind of reads to me as being too far aligned to the top edge. And I wonder if you're just better off taking advantage of the negative space. There's so much negative space below that. It's just a bit, but of course I'm interested in what the other commissioners think. We made a similar adjustment on the LED sign, getting the registration of that vertical, because there are two different typefaces in this sign, and we adjusted slightly its lateral position. I'm talking about the sign that was already approved, and that has since been,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I think that's a valid point that as far as just compositionally, it's crowding that band at the top, and I think there should be more um, brick color or brick spacing between the last letter
yeah,
and that band at the top. I think it is. So whether that means the entire thing stays the same scale, but you just push it down um, a little further. Maybe even the last letter lines up with the bottom of the sort of dark green band. I know that would bring it down much further.
yeah.
Um,
Or yeah, I mean, are all of the sort of font sizes, if you will, identical, Adam, on the three signs?
Yep.
They
Yep.
are. Okay. Okay.
Fonts and sizes are all
Yeah.
consistent.
So
Okay.
I
So
see in this,
shrinking it would probably
yeah,
not be terribly sensible, just to kind of squat, sort of shrink it down a little bit to fit in that
right.
horizontal space. I think sliding it down in that context makes more sense.
Yeah,
hmm.
especially if your idea is you're using a stencil or intention is
Yeah.
to repeat.
Yeah. To
But
make it.
I'm just all I'm offering here, Adam, is I don't see it as part of the same system. I do appreciate the desire to create some conformity here and register, but I think it's overweighed by the crowded nature of the last few characters of the just really
Yeah, and
right
and
in.
there's no sort of horizontal kind of consistency on location one,
Yeah.
or really that I can detect in location two either. So yeah, that this is location three is really the only place you have to kind of adjust it a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. I agree
Now
with
that
both.
okay, so that doesn't really address David
But
your
the
first
second
question
comment
about.
I'll say, you know,
Go
I
ahead.
like the idea of this being in paint to the extent that it can be in paint. Um, I think that we could, I mean, certain future work of this nature would need to come before the commission for approval. Um, I would be concerned about just sort of an abundance of these types of things happening. And certainly them happening without approval would not be acceptable. But um, I'm comfortable with this as it relates to paint largely because of the scale of it, which is to say that even the work that was done on Farnsworth, or I'm sorry, on Thompson Place, is so large that the risk factor of not being able to get that entire mural off is significant. That if you cannot actually remove that paint, you're talking about a really dominant element that's going to be there as a ghost for some significant length of time. I mean, that's comparable in size to the NECCO wafers um, sign on this
Right.
building, right? But I'm comfortable with the paint on this scale of it. It feels like even if it's faded, it would be something that would be very challenging to notice without being pointed out. Even the NECCO one is actually quite subtle. I think if it starts getting significantly larger in scale than this, then we need to, have an approval process that involves demonstrating specifically the removal application of that material.
Well, and didn't we also in the Thompson Place case uh, kind of argue for a much smaller end result when from what was originally proposed, as I recall, and I mean
Yeah.
Yeah,
even in
there's
that smaller scale, it still is massive. I think, Raver, to your point, compared to these kind of little ones
Yeah.
sprinkled
And
across
it's a
across
beautiful,
a
yeah.
large set of structures.
It's a beautiful placemaking element. I think it's become more and more in harmony with the community and the street on Thompson. I'm referring to Thompson Place, but I just think that looking at it as a proposal and contemplating that level of risk without really knowing that that could be removed, I would feel uncomfortable approving it. This is a different scale, is my own view,
Right.
but I'm
Right.
open to other views, of course.
No, I agree. And all I'm saying is once we approve paint,
Yeah,
then say what would have happened if this was now the order of which, these two applications were reversed. So
Yeah.
something as small and simple as this, we say, okay, do paint, and then Thompson Place comes along with this massive amount of
Well, we're going to do paint. Yeah.
show, and how do we then say no, you can't do paint? I mean, so it's, I guess what I would like to find out, ask is, you sort of feel like you want to create this sort of ghost of history eventually. I mean, that's kind of what you're leaning towards, and and that's fine. You're going to be occupying these buildings, and you are part of now the new history of these buildings, and that could be kind of an interesting feature to see. Um, but is there any way to get, with using a more stencily type of application, that you can still get this sort of more faded historic look? I mean, I don't know. I'm just one voice here, but I think if the other commissioners feel that they're okay with paint, and then I'd like to also open it up to the public to hear comments on that as well. We can, and staff seems to feel that it was okay.
And David, I'm sorry, with the alternative you're alluding to, is that using more sensibly kind of vinyl, or
Well, whatever the system was that was used on Thompson Place.
Oh,
It's a very removable application that looks like it's painted, but
Yeah.
yet is designed to be removed very easily without
Basically
a lot of scarring to the
peeled
building.
off. Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
So that's where the commission has always been going up to this point.
Mm.
Now, we say we want to okay paint, okay. Just we need to know the implications of that down the line.
Well, yeah, and what kind of guardrails could exist going forward? We say,
Yeah.
well, paint, but on a small scale.
Right. So we're going to have to
big
be able
scale,
to make
no,
that determination.
that's a no. But well, what's a big scale versus small scale?
Right.
It does kind of muddy the waters for applicants.
And I just want to interject, Commissioner,
Yeah.
to remind you that we review everything on a case-by-case basis. Just because something was appropriate for one project doesn't mean it's appropriate for another project. And the standards and criteria give us that decision-making ability. So just if we decide to go paint here, that doesn't mean paint is allowed in every single instance we see an application for.
All right. So let me ask one other.
Sorry, just one thing I'll just add, David. The other thing I'm realizing that I think for me is reasonable about this is the monochromatic color of the paint. I would feel more uncomfortable with this if it was like in a contemporary kind of color that was not in any way related to the previous sort of thing. So,
Right.
I don't know. That would of course be embedded within the approval, but I do understand I'm sympathetic.
Yeah, and no, good point, Rayburn. And the fact that it's white means, okay, we are in the 21st century, and this needs to have a significant contrast kind of, color value. But it's still, we want it to look old and distressed, and kind of like it's been there for forever, as the applicants kind of seeming to desire.
Yeah. So the idea was, so I just want to, review this.
Yeah.
So the idea is to make this lettering look old, like you're showing here in the sample, so that it already has this effect of being sort of a ghosted a graphic that may have been there for many decades.
50 years, yeah.
Yeah. So, but let me ask, just put this out there, and it has nothing to say about the company Havas Arnold, and but we, none of us ever saw also the idea that GE would not be coming into these buildings, or they would be leaving these buildings. We thought that was a pretty permanent move. So if and when Havas ever should leave these buildings, what is it anticipated that this sign, how would it be removable enough, or do we keep it and have the new tenant of a building deal with it? Or, I guess that's what I'm trying to understand here.
Is David, sorry, also trying to kind of codify a guarantee, if you will, as part of the approval that this stuff is, it is removable if that's something that is required or desired by any new tenant.
Yeah. So if we allow paint, is this paint going to be reasonably removable?
Right.
I guess.
Absolutely, David and Tom. I think one of the things for us on the landlord side was the importance of one, maintaining that historic facade
Mhm.
and really with the ability to remove the paint option.
Yeah, okay.
While again, I can't overstate it enough, the historic facade is super important to our team.
Mhm.
Well, yeah,
S-
and without leaving blemishes on it, you know, kind of.
yeah, no shadowing, nothing
Right,
along those
right. Oh,
lines.
gee, it looks like they tried to erase it with a crappy, you know, chemical or something.
Yeah, exactly. As the person who sits in this building every day and
Right, yeah, it
manages
would
it,
that would not sit
super.
well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I mean, I think so. Let's,
Do we want to make that a proviso, or does it
I mean,
even
I think we can make
proviso?
it that way, and I think certainly we want them to submit, if, you know, what kind of paint is this? Is this a special paint that is going to be used for masonry? Does it really soak into the brick? Or is, you know, it's not just going to be some basic acrylic paint, I'm guessing. I don't know. And so that specification would be sent to staff for their approval. And I also think, um, you know, I don't know if there could be well, you've already got the sampling here. And Rachel, did you guys see this sample here before? Are you?
I haven't seen it in person,
Yeah.
just in the picture.
So what we're seeing here is you would be okay with that sort of look as well, if they could achieve this with paint. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, I'd like to open it up for public comment, and because there seem to be a lot of people okay, hold on a
Is
second.
raising
Usually
hands.
we need a motion though, a motion, and then we'll go.
We don't usually make the motion, is it, before the public comment?
I thought we do the comments first. No.
Yeah, it's comments
That's
first.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
We can do
Yeah. So members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussion. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at fortpointldc@boston.gov. Okay, so
that.
I just have two hands.
Go ahead, Steve Hollinger.
Hi, good evening. First question and then a comment. David, isn't the Lolita sign at the top of the stairs paint?
I don't, I know that they have this, you know, image on the building. I don't think it was actually paint though. I thought it was always presented to us as this material that is easily removable
Okay,
and
fair
not
enough.
necessarily. this is the first application I've
It-
heard where
It
they
looks a
run-
lot like paint,
Yeah.
Steve, to be honest, but I think it
Is the red hat sign paint? The
The
red
red hat
hat?
sign is actually a violation that has not yet been.
Oh, okay.
All right, and couple just quick comments.
Yeah.
First of all, I do really like paint. I also
Mm-hmm.
really like faded paint, as they've shown. Those are two comments. But I think generally my impression is of these particular proposals is they're too small and insignificant to be jammed into the area, not given enough space to breathe in that area. And I'd prefer a blade sign in this particular application or something like that. But I would say as my last comment that I don't feel very strongly either way. So I'm willing to go along with whatever the commissioners go with. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, Sarah.
Hi, Commissioner Sarah McCammon, 4 Point resident. I think that, we spent a lot of time with Thompson Place. I remember numerous hearings. I'm sure you do too. And a lot of that discussion, as I recall it, dealt with the quantity of signage, but for the signage that went on the buildings that was put on, there was a big effort to make sure that it didn't look old, that it would it wouldn't be saying, hey, this company's been here forever. That it was something new that would fade eventually, but everybody would know this is a new addition. And so I look at that and I think about, I know this is always a big question, preservation and in historic renovations of, do you make it look like it had been there all along? Or do you do something that looks new and would fade over time? So just to point that out. And also, if we think about it, when NECCO and all these other companies were painting, they were painting using bright paints, or strong paints that faded over decades. So just bring that to the attention of the commissioners for their consideration. The other things that I'd like to bring up is, if it's helpful for you guys to go back to the slide that shows the locations 1, 2, and 3. So location, the position of where the proposed vertical signage is right around the corner from the large Havas Arnold sign at the top corner. And if you go down past those couple windows in between the 5 NECCO and the 15 NECCO, see that that is the main entryway into the company. And the advisory is going to be wanting to add to the 5 NECCO signage there the company name, which I think makes perfect sense. So I don't believe that sign is needed, as you have the large one going along the water. If you're coming down the water, you're going in between the two buildings, and you have the large entryway on the left. Now we come to location 2. So the locations 2 and 3. Location 2, I'm sorry, location 1. Okay, I might have done my numbers wrong.
Location
did
1 is
my
facing the
numbers.
water, Sarah, I think.
Yes, okay, and
No.
that was the one about the big sign facing the water. Thank
Yes,
you.
the upper above
And then location 3, I'll go to 3 because I can't figure out my 2 comments. But location 3 is the backside of the building, and that's where the nonprofit space is going to be. And if you a picture of that building going far to the left, and with the 5 NECCO signage plan that the commission already approved, there's going to be a blade sign for that across from those windows on the far left-hand side of that building, or there potentially could be one. So again, just kind of looking and trying to understand, there's no entryway at 3. There's no entryway at 2 for you to get into the building. So if I was looking at this,
Reminder of the 2-minute public comment limit, Sarah.
okay, it's just if it's for pedestrians, there's no FPA that Habas is doing. There is one in the building in the back corner that is not yet designated, and there's the gym that's in the other corner. So, and I find them confusing because they're not near any entryways that would bring you into that building if you were a client of Havas Arnold.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Interesting.
Sorry, I went over it, Rachel.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
All right. Is that that's it for
Correct.
people with
No
hands
other
up?
public
Okay.
comment, and we did not receive any written public comment.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
So
and I have to kind of agree with Sarah on that. Just that again, less is more, and we're now going to have 4 signs plus maybe an entry, well, presumably an entrance sign. That's 5. It does seem like maybe a touch excessive to have quite so many. Granted, these are large, massive, structures, but it may be just a little confusing to people kind of walking around. That was sort of the gist of maybe what Sarah was getting at.
Yeah, Adam, the one I'd like to hear about particularly is location 2, since it's on the same surface, I believe, as the large sign on the crown.
Yep.
Is-
Yeah.
location 2. All right. So that's on. Yeah. As far as the key for the. All right. Well, go ahead here. Oh, I see. Here it is here. All right. So the sign that's at the very top of the building, that is on the left-hand facade here, right? Is that correct? On the building? That's the part that faces the channel.
Faces the water.
It's not labeled 1 or 2. So then sign number 1 is it's on that, it just turns the corner 90
And around the
degrees.
corner, yeah.
And you can say, well, you could see the sign at the top of the building clear as day, and you're also going to see vertical sign number 1 as well in the same sort of.
Do you really need both? Is that
You
what?
need both? Yeah. So I mean, I could see where vertical, the number one location could possibly go. The number two, that is on the opposite, again, it's on the 90-degree turn of the building and,
Yeah, to this diagram makes, just based on the vertical 2 location indicated here, that sign is facing the alley, right?
yes,
If we go
it
back
is.
to the rendering,
It-
right? It appears in location 2 here to be facing the water. It's rendered on the surface of the building that is
Which-
facing the water, right? In location 2. Does that make sense, Adam? What I'm saying here, that I think it's a discrepancy either in the overhead diagram or in the render. I can't quite determine.
Correct. Location 2
Oh,
is
I
just next to
see.
that transformer caging that faces the water.
I see. Now I'm getting.
But in the diagram that's overhead, if we just go back for a second, I'm just trying to find out where it actually is. It's in vertical sign 2. It is facing the alley.
Technically it's facing the alley.
Right.
Oh, all right, let's go back to the images again, the photos again. I want to just look at, yeah, okay.
Yep.
So, so for location 2, that facade that you're showing the sign, isn't that the same? If you took that full picture, wouldn't you see the sign at the very top further in the image if you move the camera over? Am I not seeing this, understanding this right?
It'd be
I think you're
very.
seeing it
Oh, go
correctly.
ahead.
Adam, is there like a better diagram you have of this? I think that understanding exactly where the signage
Yeah,
is.
like in other words, you look at the first photo where you're showing location 1. Okay, don't pay no attention to location 1, but look at the sign that's at the top. That is the facade that faces the channel. Now, in the second photograph where you're proposing to have location number 2, isn't that facade also facing the channel? Isn't that the same facade that has the large sign at the top?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the photo of location 2 is the intended location for the sign.
Not the overhead view, Adam, right? That's what
Yeah,
we should be using
correct.
the photo.
That little tiny blue line definitely could be oriented just a smidge to the left.
All
So
right.
Well,
it'd be-
rotated, right? It should be
Yeah.
rotated
Yeah.
To come around the corner to show it on the same plane as the sign at the top.
Yeah, and admittedly, I have to zoom pretty far into my plan here to pick that one up. But yes,
Oh,
that's
it's
correct.
subtle. It's subtle.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm reading the photographs as my determinative proposal here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, this scale is really designed not to interfere with any of the other signage that's either in the area or existing on the building. So that's why it's kind of on the smaller side.
All right. I guess what
Yeah, I mean, the sort of view corridor for the two different signs. The one at the top, you kind of see from across the channel, and coming down. But the lower one that we now know is actually on, sign location number 2 is actually on the same plane as
Yeah.
that overhead sign. That you're seeing kind of strictly from walking down
the Harbor Walk,
Harbor Walk, I guess, right?
So that's what these signs are more geared towards. In other words, the large sign at the top, which is not part of this application,
No.
is meant to be the sign where you see the sign on the building from across the channel, and that's the big announcement for where the building,
Right.
where Havas is located. These smaller signs seem to be geared towards the pedestrian.
Right.
To me,
Who's right, sort of on the, co-located with, if you will, at the street level.
Right. So
Yeah.
location 2 is on that same facade that has that's facing the channel, but it's at a lower level that would maybe be seen more from the person walking down the Harbor Walk. And I guess, I don't really have a huge issue with that. I'm.
Yeah.
it seems like it's going to be innocuous enough, I think, to not have it be that much of an issue. If you feel very strongly about needing to have the identity of the building be visible from somebody walking down the harbor walk, so they don't have to look up, crane their neck and look up and see it that that's the building.
Yeah, I
So
can't
just one
understate. Oh,
oh,
I'm so sorry. Please.
sorry, Adam, just one last point of clarification. The entrance that we are also having, I guess, an administrative review of a sign there. Can we include that data point in this sort of assessment? Where and
Yeah,
where and how large is that sign?
it would have been, it would have been good to at least have that be part of this presentation, even though.
We
Yeah.
included a separate
Yeah,
presentation.
that was my fault in asking them to cut it down. Adam, are you able to pull up the original presentation that you sent that has that image?
Sure.
If not, I can do it. I'll just let me stop sharing my screen.
I'll just,
Actually,
I'll-
Rachel, I can send it to the top of your inbox. Just because I'm using my mobile phone, so I can't share it.
Oh
on my-
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
while you're doing
If
that,
you don't,
I'll share a comment here. I really like this application because of the attempt to blend and fold into the aesthetic of the neighborhood.
Mhm.
So I want to thank you for that, Adam, in terms of not coming at us with a giant billboard.
yeah,
Challenge of this, and it's not determinative for me, but there is signage that we approved by virtue of our master plan for the ground floor that all fit within the lintels of those lower level for the new athletic facility that is there. Quite a lot of repeating signage, and they're trying to get people in. This is it's sort of the midpoint of the channel becomes an unoccupied development boundary. So I understand they're trying to make that business work. They're trying to get people in. And I think it's just a question for the commissioners as to whether we want to have, it's not necessarily a bad aesthetic that, okay, there's a lot of activity here. There's a lot of signs here. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things to do. That not the monolithic plane that we've all become so comfortable with and familiar with, which is that punched window look with no signage at all, just all become quite, fond of. It's a different vibe, it's a different vibe. And the vibe is Havas Arnold, Box. I think Box is the name, Box Craft or something of this nature.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about. This sign here is what has been administratively approved, and that is that will indicate the front door of where someone would go if they want to visit Havas Arnold. So, all right,
And relative to the the sort of top-down view that we were looking at before, this not location 1, 2, not the photographs 1, 2, and 3, but the other elevation.
Mhm.
Can we I just want to see where that
Tom's trying to place where within the composition of the other pieces.
Oh, wait a sec. Okay, that's helpful. And then if we could see that from the elevation.
Sorry, Tom, I
Sorry.
have to go to there.
That's right.
I don't know if I have a full elevation.
Well, from the original, I mean, from the previous
The
presentation.
previous presentation. Okay, give me 1 second to pull that.
Oh,
up.
sorry, we're switching all around.
That's all right. I got it.
Adam, you can confirm this is the tenant for the whole building. Is that right? Other than the ground? Is that right? At least building?
they are the anchor tenant, Raver. There is one tenant that has
Subtenant.
space on the 5th floor, but
Got it.
Havas occupies everything else. So they're the anchor tenant, and Raver, we also appreciate your kind of appreciation, lack of a better word, for the design. I just can't understate for the group really how excited Havas is really to be kind of that new fixture of the neighborhood, and I think this package that we're putting before you kind of represents that excitement, and they were pretty thoughtful through the design process as well, and very collaborative.
Mhm.
Great, Tom, stop me when I get to the.
Yeah,
wait,
one more. 2 more, sorry. Yeah, this guy. So which side is that entrance on?
It's that red line at the bottom.
Yeah.
Plant south.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay.
And that's the main entrance. And I remember working with GE in the creation of this glass connector.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So,
Okay. I was just
all
trying
right.
to spatially orient myself. Okay.
Okay. Well, I think I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I expressed my concerns. I think, we can, if that's what, where we're leaning, we can approve as it's been presented, without,
With the
getting-
proviso of option 2 as your
Yes.
technique for application.
Yeah, and then ultimately sending those specifications for what, the type of paint and such. And even if we had to, if you have some kind of spec for the removal technique that you would use and send that to staff as well. I think it would be something to, information that it would be good to have.
I agree.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we're happy to provide all of that.
yeah.
I mean,
All right.
we take you at your word. It would just be kind of reassuring, I think, for the community.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Super important. As I stated, you know where to find me at 5 NECCO. I'm on the ground floor. So,
Yeah.
this is,
Good, Adam.
yeah, exactly. Rayber, you know where I am. I'm always in between the 2 buildings.
Exactly.
Just out of curiosity.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
All right.
Shall we get this to a
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we want somebody would make a motion, please.
I will motion to approve with the proviso that option 2 is used as the application method. And to the extent that there needs to be approval, remand that to staff.
Okay. Second.
And sorry, in the provision of the paint removal technique.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I will second that.
All right. So Commissioner Umfanor,
Aye.
Rhodey,
Votes yes.
and I vote yes. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Adam.
you, team. We appreciate all the questions and all the thought behind this discussion.
What are you not currently? Am I thinking of another business? Are you not in the filings building?
You're talking Havas Arnold down on 10 Summer Street.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the old filings building.
yeah, so they vacated to call 4 Point their new Boston home.
Okay. Okay. So they're leaving that, and that you're all
Yeah.
consolidating over 4 Point. Okay. I thought so. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
Adam.
the next is application number 26.0297, 64 Sleeper Street, and the proposed work is installation of a deployable stop log barrier across the walkway underneath the pedestrian bridge at Martin's Park, including installation of a level concrete sill and embedded footing across the walkway, installation of cast-in-place concrete walls and footings among the granite blocks on either side of the walkway, and installation of a gate valve on the existing drain line that runs beneath the walkway in the area. And then there are also, I guess, parts of this would be under an administrative review. So, okay. So if the applicant can introduce yourself and get started.
And a reminder to the commissioners that this is in the protection area, so we are just reviewing the landscaping. And this is also a project. This is like a city-owned park.
Okay.
Yeah, hello. My name's Cassandra Martinez. I work for Weston and Sampson, and I'm presenting here on behalf of the Boston Planning and Development Agency. None of them were able to attend this evening. So yeah, we're speaking about Martin's Park, as Rachel mentioned, in the protection area. If you can go to the next slide. So just to give a bit of a background on this project, just so you're all familiar, then I'll get in the details. So as you're probably aware, Martin's Park is on the 4 Point Channel right next to the Boston Children's Museum. And the focus of this is a deployable stock block barrier, which will go almost directly underneath where the existing pedestrian bridge is that crosses through the park. Next slide. So the purpose of this project, the city of Boston is undertaking a lot of projects throughout the city to increase resilience to flooding and climate preparedness. And the 4-point channel is one area that presents a high risk of flooding to the South Boston neighborhoods, both along this area and further south. And so in this area in particular, the city is seeking to implement a coordinated system of deployable flood barriers, one of which is at Martin's Park. The other two are planned at the Boston Children's Museum and then kind of near the Harbor Walk on Sleeper Street Extension. Those are not part of this project today. Those are kind of further, their schedule is further behind this Martin's Park one. But yeah, you can go to the slide. So in the scenario where these barriers are deployed, it'll prevent flooding from extending into the neighboring areas behind. And originally Martin's Park, when it was designed, was intended to provide a resilient area. And so much of the park's features are at a high enough elevation to prevent flooding. And this is the one pathway during that design, they didn't incorporate a barrier across here. And so it's like the sole low point that allows flooding kind of through the park and into the neighborhood. And so the city is seeking to close that pathway now.
So let me just interrupt 1 second. So what you're
Mhm.
showing here in the blue color, would be the extent of where the floodwaters would go, and then this barrier would stop it from penetrating further.
Yeah, so if Rachel, if you go back one slide, that shows like
Yeah.
the inundation
Oh, wow.
without the
Oh,
barriers,
wow.
and then the slide after shows the inundation with the barriers.
All
So
right.
you can see it significantly reduces
Oh,
it with these 3 systems.
so you've got the one over the walkway, and then the long red line is another kind of barrier.
Yeah, so we will be coming in front of you in the future
Oh, all
for
right.
the
So this is
Boston Children's Museum project.
okay.
But that, yeah, so this one, like the Martin's Park, isn't and it's not called an independent flood pathway. So just by protecting that area, you're not
Yeah.
actually protecting the whole neighborhood. There's other ways for it to get around. So ultimately, the city's plan is to implement these 3, and that will protect the whole neighborhood.
Okay.
Sure.
And the other 2 are only like a month or 2 behind this project, so
Yeah.
still near term. So next slide. So this is just some photos of the existing conditions of the park taken earlier this year. The one on the left is kind of standing closer to the street side, looking towards the Harbor Walk. And then the other 2 on the right are standing with the water at your back looking towards. So this pedestrian bridge you can see above, that's our site where we're looking to put this deployable barrier across the walkway here. Next slide, please. Just a couple other photos kind of standing underneath that pedestrian bridge, looking left and right. This is like the sides that we're planning to tie into with the barrier. Next slide. So there's been a lot of coordination thus far with this is a parks property, Parks and Recreation Department. So the planning department has coordinated extensively with the Parks Department as well as the Martin Richards family and the Friends of the Park on the alignment of this barrier and to ensure that it meets their desires as well like as the visual character of the park. So this location was chosen to provide as minimal impact as possible to the surrounding like granite blocks, the utilities in the area, as well as the overall landscape here. Next slide, please. So here's just a couple renderings showing either side. So the scope of the project includes excavation in this walkway to then install a level concrete sill. When the flood barrier is deployed, it needs to be like properly sealed on the bottom so that flood waters can't seep underneath it. And so there will be like a 2-foot wide permanent sill here in between the exposed aggregate walkway. And then on either side, to tie the flood barrier in so that there's no chance of it overtopping. There will be concrete walls installed that will go above the concrete or the granite blocks. And then we want to ensure that water can't come through the drain underground during a flood. And so we're going to install like retrofit a valve that basically just slides into the drain pipe that won't allow waters to come from the wet side to the dry side during a flood. So this rendering shows what it will look like when deployed. So it's only deployed when a flood scenario is anticipated. And the city has a like a standard operating procedure for identifying those times. So this person is in the rendering for reference. It's about 6 feet tall. And in our efforts to make sure that in the non-deployed situation, we maintain the park's visual character, on the next slide, we see what it looks like without. So our intent is to um, have the contractor purchase granite blocks from the same quarry as they were um, selected when this park was originally designed, and they'll be built up to hide the concrete wall that'll be tied into the bridge abutment on either side. And then, otherwise try to minimize impact to the existing granite blocks as much as possible. We intend to have the Parks Department as well as the Richards family be able to like view the selected granite blocks before they are brought to the site and placed, and then approve of their final placement. And then just a couple photos to show you what this looks like. There's a lot of these around Boston. The one on the left is from an unknown location from the manufacturer's website, but the two on the right are from Aquarium Station in Boston. So you can see when they're deployed, they're just these very thin aluminum style, quote unquote, logs that go in. They just slide into posts. They're pretty lightweight, so they're easy to deploy. The next photo shows a bit of the details. So these are also in East Boston. The concrete pad I mentioned, which creates a level surface, is pretty minimal. And then there's normally, in this location, there will be at least one intermediate post that'll have to be installed just to like extend for this. So the span of the logs is smaller on either side. And so there will be bolts that are there permanently, but they're flush with the pavement. They kind of look like what that far left picture looks like. And then you install the posts and then slide the barriers in. So yeah, I had just a couple slides at the end that were more detailed engineering plans if that comes up in the questions, but thank you. That's the presentation.
All right, so
Oh, sorry. Just one comment on that this particular rendering. The kind of on the right-hand side, the little bit of, I'm not sure. I guess that's concrete that's showing in the white outline above the granite blocks. Is that what is that exactly? Sorry.
So yeah, and this rendering doesn't depict it perfectly, as most renderings don't,
Right.
exactly. But yeah, so in order to prevent the flood barrier from like toppling over when water hits it, we have to secure it on either side with some sort of structural support. And so there are like bridge abutments from the pedestrian bridge that crosses on either side, and those are the points where we want to tie into. And
Okay.
so I think above, we're going to elevation 22 here, and the current ground is around 16. So it's like 6 feet. But the slope rises on either side. And so there's going to be like a somewhat visible concrete, like cast in place concrete wall. And I think it wouldn't, we don't want to be it as obvious as it is in this rendering. So we'd build the granite blocks around it a little, better in reality, so that when the barrier isn't deployed, you don't really see that
You don't
concrete
really,
wall.
it's not really obtrusive. Okay. Got it.
Exactly, yeah. And it's
Gotcha.
outside of the walking path and all of that as well.
Right.
All right. So then could we see, so let's go one more slide back because it'll show that, yeah, that's with the barrier in place, touching these concrete walls that are going to have to be, that'll be a permanent part of the view here. And so you've got you have new stacked boulders. Okay. Those are like, I'm just curious, you created a rendering with new stack boulders. Why didn't you try to hide this wall more than you showing here with these boulders? That's my worry, is that the view that we're going to see is really, you're going to see these concrete wing walls popping into this view corridor, which is really unfortunate. And I wonder why, say, the one on the left, can't you push that wall further to the left and make the barrier go further, the temporary part of the barrier go further over to the left so you don't see the wall at all? I mean, it means, yeah, I mean, it would be more tucking in the wing walls further into the sides of these granite blocks so you don't see any of that basically.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, so on the right side, the existing granite blocks don't go up as high as on the left, like the one shown,
Yeah.
the second highest one, that is as high as it goes. I think it's an imperfect rendering. I didn't do it myself, but if I did, I would make sure that we were covering, we would raise the blocks higher so that they would
Right.
cover that wall. We were
Okay.
trying to find a balance, because the friends of the park and the Richards family were really concerned about us doing anything to impact the current nature of the park and how it looks. And so we were trying to find a balance of not impacting the blocks as much while also providing a suitable structural support, right? So like the one on the left, I think there's certainly some wiggle room there to move
Yeah.
it further in. We just would probably have to cut into existing granite blocks more to do so.
Yes. And I
And
think
so we were
that's
trying to find that
acceptable.
balance.
So you're saying you're trying to not disturb the granite blocks that are currently there.
Correct.
Well, to me, it seems if we're going to have to look at a wall, a concrete wall, I'd rather disturb the blocks of granite that are there, that you would cut into them further so that it would
Hmm.
hide those walls. I don't think that, because these are not, this isn't like a historic rock outcropping. I mean, these are like
Right.
boulders that were put there when the park was built. So I think at this point, since we have to introduce this flood barrier, which is very important, I think let's tuck it in as best we can and alter
Hmm.
the existing granite if we have to tuck them in and hide them. And then add granite blocks as you're showing here as needed
Yep.
to really camouflage that view. So do you did have what I think a view of if you cut the wall and the barrier in half and then you're looking at either side. Do you have that view? Yeah, okay. This is what
Yeah.
so the one this one on the bottom right here.
Yeah. The bottom right is looking towards the right.
Yeah, that would be the one that has the most, to me, seems the worst view of the wall.
Right. Because
So
yeah, that has the lower current
yeah.
elevation.
And so now, okay, I see. So the existing granite blocks are low. You're going to have to add height to the granite blocks to hide the wall a little bit more.
Correct.
And I mean, I think not seeing the full context, I think that that's fine. I think, but all I would say is add whatever you need to add in terms of the
Hmm.
granite blocks to hide the wall further so you don't see it. I think,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a lot of this process, we intend to be very, we want there to be a lot of coordination, right? It's hard
yeah,
to tell a contractor now, like, hey, put them in this
sure.
exact spot, right? It's easier once they're out there. So
Yeah, yeah.
we're going to work with the same stone curator and from the same quarry and then make sure that, the
Mhm.
contractor will have to like mock it up and then put it out there and then they'll, you know,
Yeah,
we'll look at it and say, okay, that looks good, or shift this here, or add one here,
yeah.
to make sure that it ends in exactly that intent so that you're not looking at this wall.
And you kind of have a little bit of advantage on the left side too, of the just vegetation kind of hanging over to maybe obscure
Right. Yeah, that
some.
tree kind of comes in. And the
Yeah.
rocks do more on that side. And it's a shorter distance to the edge of the abutment on that side. And so there's like a little bit less to go, which is also
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah.
On the right side, it slopes for quite a distance. And there's actually a fence over there,
Yeah.
until you get to the abutment.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it is what it is in terms of it has to be we got to have this barrier. When you say these are temporary deployments of the barrier, where are these stored?
So in this case, because it's going to be like a coordinated system with a barrier that we'll be proposing for the Children's Museum,
Yeah,
I think the Children's Museum has a garage,
place to house them.
and
Yeah.
so we're thinking they'll be stacked in there. These planks will be pretty short. This is like a 12-foot span, so they'll probably be like 6 feet long and they're about a foot tall, and then just
Mhm.
a couple inches thick. So you can just stack them, and so they'd probably just be like rolled out on a dolly or something. But yeah, I think for this location in particular, they're planned to be stored in the Children's Museum
Okay.
garage.
All right. So do the other commissioners have any other things they want to add here?
I was concerned about the visibility of the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a beautifully designed and built park, and I have young kids. They play on these rocks, so I'm familiar with them. And what's beautiful about them, as David said, is that this continuity of view of the whole length. So I would love to either see that integrated in a way that extends the width of that barrier, thereby pushing the permanent wall further back, or by adding boulders such that it can be obscured.
Mhm.
It
Yeah, I think it's going to
again,
be.
that it's not a historic park in a way that, I mean, this is a recently built park, but it would be great to, of course, preserve its character.
Mhm.
Those
Yeah,
two
I think we could.
those two renderings of you know what it would look like without any mitigation. You know, the blue, we didn't realize that was water. The blue inundating so much of that, you know, that part of the neighborhood versus the next one with the barriers. Um, okay, that kind of gets my vote.
Yeah.
Well, it
No, I
makes
think
this
we have.
non-negotiable.
Yeah, it
Right,
is.
We'll
right.
take the edges, Cassandra, you know.
Yeah, it's non-negotiable that the wall gets
No,
in. I guess I'd like to ask, uh, what the, what are our parameters here as a commission, since this is not part of the
Sure.
district, but it's rather a,
Literally talking about what you guys just talked about,
okay,
like trying to hide the barrier.
okay,
They're planning the granite to match existing. So
yeah.
that's like admin. No need to worry about that. It's really just to make sure you guys are okay with the proposal.
All right, and then one question, if we go ahead with a vote to accept this, could we ask for a proviso that someone from Landmark staff, you or whomever, could be out there the day that they start stacking these new granite pieces, or even making the decision as to where the concrete forms are going to be put for these new walls? Is that something that you could
I mean, I
monitor?
think you could ask for a proviso that once the team is out there looking at the site,
Yeah.
that they send an updated plan showing how effectively the barriers will be concealed, and that if they're generally, like, we don't go out to like monitor construction sites,
Okay.
but asking for an updated plan showing the effectiveness, from
Mhm.
the knowledge they gain being out there, I think is fine.
All right.
Maybe yeah, an update of the rendering of what we have looked at and yeah, exactly that view, and also the one with the barrier down. Um,
Mhm.
you know, just an update of that to say, oh, well, this is how it actually is going to really pan out, right?
Yeah.
I think that's very
view.
reasonable.
This is how it's actually going to pan out now that we've, you know, worked through all of the angles and the stacking of the
Yeah.
boulders and so forth.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think all that we could actually hope for is to and emphasize, if we, when we make our motion, that the barrier walls be pushed as close as possible to the abutments of, what did you call it? The actual existing
Yeah, the
the
pedestrian bridge
bridge and stuff. Yeah.
abutments. Yep.
And that the further you can get them tucked into there, the better it will be for minimizing their view. So, all right, well, let me open this up for the public comment here. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application discussion. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at fortpointldc@boston.gov.
Hi, this is Steve
Yep.
Ellinger. Thank you again, and I support the commissioner's comments. I just have one question on some of the earlier slides. I'm not clear on the slides showing protection of the larger neighborhood through this deployable barrier. Wouldn't the water, I mean, we've been working on a holistic solution for the entire neighborhood for quite some time. With this barrier, wouldn't the water still come in from A Street to Congress Street and through a number of other points, to the degree that this, I don't really get the slide that shows the protection zone provided by this particular barrier. And I know that might be outside the
It is,
scope of this
yeah.
conversation.
Well, it is actually, Steve, it is outside of what we would be paying attention to, and your concern is a valid one, and
Okay.
maybe something you can take up with them separately somehow to understand,
Thank you.
would prevent the water from coming in by way of A Street.
I'm happy to provide a quick answer if
Yeah,
you
sure.
would allow it. So there is a separate project for that area related to Fort Point Channel that's meant to cover like that part of South Boston. So I think this is like a coordinated effort in of itself with these three areas, but then there's like even more extensive coordinated efforts like along the entirety of the Fort Point Channel that are meant to address that very issue.
Okay, great. Any other public comments coming through?
No, we have no other written public comments and no other raised hands.
All right, so with that, if someone could take what we've discussed here and form a motion that would take into account some of the concerns that we had would be great.
Okay, give it a shot. Move to accept the proposal as presented. The proviso that that staff be provided with a sort of an updated rendering of how the sort of frames, the two side wings of the barrier are going to be, in ultimate form and as kind of obscured as possible to the right and the left side.
Okay, you minimize the view of the
To minimize the view of
the wing walls, basically, we'll call them.
Wing walls, yes.
Yeah. Okay, and then one other thought, if before we go on, because we may amend the motion, is there any thing that we can say, Rachel, that could determine or encourage what is the coloring of these walls going to be? In other
They're
words,
gonna match the coloring of the walls. I think
yeah,
they're colored
they-
to like blend in with the rock as
Yeah,
much as possible.
yeah, make a color additive into the concrete to make them match the color of the granite. I'm sure that would be important to minimize any possible view. Okay, and I think yeah, and so all of that would be then the staff would be you want them to submit, I'm sorry, does the motions have them submitting a new rendering that would show the walls being a little less
Yep.
visible?
Obtrusive.
Okay.
Yeah, as unobtrusive as possible,
Yep.
given again the angles and the requirements of the deployable barrier.
Yep.
But amended to include coloration of the concrete itself to match the surrounding stonework.
Yep. Okay. That's great. And a second. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Okay. So Commissioner Rhodey,
I vote yes.
Alfanor,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Can I
Cassandra.
ask one quick clarifying question?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it would be we'll ask the contractor to provide like a rendering and shop drawings for that. Is it acceptable that you receive that once the contractor has been selected
Yeah.
after the
That's
bidding
fine. It's a
process?
proviso,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Basically
Alright.
approving the application with just wanting to check in and make sure that that detail is being carried out.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
absolutely,
think,
yeah.
like I said, anything that's going to describe the wall itself, the coloration, if you're going to use a color, and
Right.
even textural, we don't want a nice smooth concrete wall or something that's, flat finish, and anything that would tie it into the rocks more than have it look like a refined retaining wall. So, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are done with the applications, and now we are going to have, we've got administrative reviews. These were applications that came before the staff, and they were approved based on their adherence to the standards and criteria. They were approved by the staff, and so the motion after I read them all in would be to approve of the staff's approval of these applications.
David, that you don't have to read them all in. Apparently me showing them on the screen is enough.
Oh, is that right? That's
Isn't that
new.
wild?
All right, that's new. So here they are. There's three applications: 5 NECCO Street, 64 Sleeper Street, and 253 Summer Street. So the motion would be to accept the staff's approval of these three applications. And we have a second.
I'm just actually reading them into
Oh,
my
you
own
want
mind.
You can always read them if you
I
want.
do trust them not reading them too.
Oh yeah, no. Okay, I do remember some of these. Yeah, I'll second that.
Thanks.
All right. It's interesting. These administrative reviews, they've wanted me to tailor them a lot in terms of how I describe these. So now they don't want me
Oh,
to.
you can go ahead and read them in, David. We like hearing your sonorous voice anyway.
Yeah.
I'll just say in other districts when we have like 40 admin, they
God.
come in.
Oh, really? Sometimes you have that many. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
stop it.
all right. As long as we're doing it legally and this is going to be acceptable
Mm-hmm.
for the, the record.
Yes.
So, all right. So we have the motion is to accept, and then did we get a second?
I was seconding that.
All
Yes.
right. And we could do a voice vote. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Okay. Those are in. Now we have ratification of the August 14, 2025 public hearing minutes. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
I will motion to accept them.
All right. Second.
I will second that.
All right. Again, voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right. Now, staff updates.
You have 5 new candidates in the pipeline.
Well, I was gonna say, should I give us an update here, Rachel?
You're welcome to, David.
Okay. And I don't know if Steve Hollinger is still on, because I wanted him to hear this too, and Sarah. But I have put my resignation in for the Landmarks Commission period, and so that is going to be effective December 31st. So that would be my last, basically the last date of my being a commissioner. So we will be needing desperately to find somebody, a third person at least for the time being, to fill Fort Point. Otherwise, we are no longer going to have quorum after December's hearing. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's been 25 years that I've been on this commission.
You thought you'd wait till the silver anniversary.
Yeah, right. That's a silver anniversary. So I wanted you guys to hear that from me as well. So the letter I submitted the letter a couple of weeks ago, I guess, to the mayor and to those within the commission staff that needed to hear it. And so it's in the works.
Wow. All right. Well, David, I'd like to go on record as saying that's sad news, sad moment.
Well, thank you.
One that I thought would never happen for at least another 25 years,
it's nothing. It's just been thinking long and hard about like when would the appropriate exit be, and 25 years seem to be makes sense. It makes sense with my life where it is, all of that. So time for a change, and change is good. So
got it.
And David, did you say there was a time?
Yeah, I made it effective December 31st so that there would be time to fill the vacancies here and do whatever shuffling, because they need the BSLA needs to find another person because that's what I'm representing is the Boston Society of Landscape Architects. There are 2 of us on the commission, and they'll need to put another person forward for that as well. So I figured that would be an appropriate amount of time. So,
okay.
December of this year, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think he meant 2030.
Yeah.
2030?
Yeah.
So
just the math is off a little bit.
Well, first of all, David, thank you for your work over the last 25 years. And as a relatively new commissioner, it's been really a pleasure to serve with you, and I've always benefited from your wisdom and insight. And I feel my comments are captured by your comments before I even have to say them. So, it's.
So you guys, somebody, one of you 2 guys may take over the chairmanship of the commission eventually, of the Fort Point anyway. So just putting it out there. I see Steve has his hand up. We're not necessarily doing public comment, but
yeah, David, I just want to say that I've worked with you for that 25 years and work with you on the study committee and developing the guidelines. And I just want to say, I've said this before, but I love you, David, and I really so much appreciate your work on this team. And I've learned so much from you, like someone before Raber said. I don't know. I really appreciate it. And also so much time you spent getting to this point 25 years later, sticking with it. But thank you so much. Going forward, I just have one comment on that. There was a guy in our neighborhood who had applied and wanted to be on it, Jeff Haney, and he was appointed to the larger commission. I think he might be an alternate, but he might be convinced to join. And he's an architect, lives in the neighborhood, and he's fantastic. So
Yeah, I know he is on the main commission, and
yeah.
he actually, since my role on the Fort Point Commission is as a commissioner on the main body, so he could actually become my replacement for Fort Point if he wants to. I mean, he has to be certainly be willing to serve on another commission, but yeah, he would be good. He's an architect and is certainly knowledgeable about the area. So, but that's out of my hands. That's obviously in the hands of the BLC staff and the higher ups there. So, okay. Well,
I just
with that
wanted,
said, I
before
have two more. We have 2 more months. We've got October and November. Oh no, we just did October, so November and December. Yeah. Do we have a hearing on December? Are we're meeting on?
If assuming we have applications, we'll meet.
Yeah. All right. Well, we still have time. So, and Sarah,
David, I just
you're-
wanted to say thank you. I wasn't involved when you and Steve and others got involved way at the beginning for the study report. So thrilled that this Fort Point became an historic district, and have really enjoyed being at these meetings and hearing your point of view, and that the other commissioners over the span of at least the last 10 years or so that I've been involved. So thank you, David, for your leadership.
Well,
Here, Sarah.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think, Steve was on the committee, the study commission or study committee. And I guess I will say, and I put this in my resignation letter too, that serving on the commission was really one of the biggest honors of my professional career. So I do, and I really was very happy to be a part of not only creating the guidelines that then went into the creation of this as a landmark district ultimately, but then to serve on the commission as well itself. So it's been an honor. So anyway, that's enough said, and we got a couple more months, and we'll go from there. Thank you, everybody, for your kind words. So I appreciate it. Now, with that said, do you have anything, Rachel, that you needed to add here, or any updates?
Except just that we will miss you very much.
Very much.
Okay, well, thank you. All right.
Continue, David. Watch out. We're going to continue for the next.
we better adjourn this meeting then. All right. So motion.
He'll just have to block us, Raber. That's
What a shame.
Yeah. We'll be FaceTiming.
We'll be able to make all of our comments on kerning and
6 o'clock on the second Thursday. He'll get this. Oh no, no, leave me alone.
You know what? You never know. I may decide to tune in if I see something on the agenda that I want to say something about.
You should, David.
I will have that right.
Oh, that's right. It's a member of the public. Okay.
All right. Well, we need to adjourn. So motion to adjourn.
I will motion to adjourn.
And second.
I will second that.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Good seeing everybody.
All right. Yes.
Yes.
Take
All right.
care.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.